Good afternoon, my lovely people. It feels like it has been forever. I was unable to be with you, ladies and gentlemen. For those gentlemen who will be streaming with me today or with us today. Last week was so busy, so hectic. There was just so much to do, so much to handle, and so I was unable to meet with you today. However, I am super duper excited to be with you today and hope that for those of you who are joining live will be inspired and encouraged, and also for those who will be catching the stream on the rebound. Now, I hope that your week has been a very productive week as mine has been, and this week has also been a very hectic week for me. It has been loaded with so many activities and stuff like that, but very productive. And so I hope that you will all be blessed today as always. And I just want to state this disclaimer that my streams are not for everyone, but I do believe that there is one person, even if it's just one, whom this podcast or this live stream will bless today, and for those who will be watching or listening on the rebound. Now, today I want to talk about offenses. Yes, offenses. I want to talk about offenses, but also I want to link that with purpose, right? I want to link offense with purpose. And just to make a quick note, that about 4 months ago, I did a podcast, a live stream on God's work / purpose. So you can go and look for that stream when this one is through on Instagram here live, where we're on live. You can find that video, or you can go over to YouTube at our Woman of Worth Francis channel, and you could also find that stream there, and just to watch it on the replay and see if you can catch up a little on what I said then and how or why I'm linking it a little here today with offenses. Now, you too, like myself, I'm sure, have been offended in your lifetime. You may have been offended by friends, by families, by co-workers, by boss, by your manager, your supervisor, by your neighbors even, or maybe by a church family, a church member. Yes, these things happen everywhere. Offenses come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. It doesn't matter who it is, who you are, offenses will come. You may say, what proof do I have of that? I'm going to jump right into my proof today, and I'm going to be reading from Luke chapter, 17? Yes, I'm going to read from Luke chapter 17, verse 1. And it says, "Then said he unto the disciples, It is impossible but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come." You hear that? Woe unto him through whom they come. Now, I just wanted to just throw that punch in right there, because for everything in this life and here on this earth, there is a verse or a chapter in the Bible that can, can either back up whatever it is that you are interested in to know, or what's the word I'm looking for? Curious to know or understand, or something like that. But I throw that in first to make the strong, solid point, because sometimes individuals may think or feel like, why is it necessary to feel or be offended? Why is it necessary for someone to offend another individual? Some of us may be very thin-skinned, yes. Some of us may be very thin-skinned, as well as offense is just something that it is inevitable. The word of God says it. It confirms it. It makes it very clear that it will come. It's unavoidable. But what do we do when offenses come? That's a very good question. What do we do when offenses come? Well, for me personally, whenever I am offended, yes, it hits the core sometimes, because sometimes individuals may say things that really punches us straight in the gut, or as the saying goes, a low blow below the belt. Yes, sometimes offenses can be so hard or harsh. And sometimes when these offenses comes, we may allow it to take root in our hearts. And that's where the real problem lies, when we allow it to take root in our hearts. Now, offenses, I think, when they come, it is important, of course, to not ignore the way that we feel when the offenses come. It is important, I think, to feel the feeling, to feel the emotions that comes with the offenses. But after feeling all the feelings and the emotions, what do we do with it all? What do we do? For me personally, when those things come, I feel it. I may even cry over it. But at the end of the day, one of the most important things that I do is to release that person, is to forgive the person. That's me. Maybe that's not the remedy for you, but I'm going to tell you why it is so important to release the person and to feel the feeling, the emotions, and to let it all go. Offenses, when we allow them to take root in our hearts, it breeds bitterness. Offenses also breeds hatred. Yes, it can do those things. Offenses, if we don't learn to feel them and allow it to do what it is to do and then release it, we're in big trouble. Because if we allow it to take root in our hearts, and bitterness, hatred, or even strife can be born from all of that. Yes? And offense can rob us. Offense, I like to put it this way. I like to put offense as a robber. Offense is like a thief. You know, just like the word of God says that the thief come to kill, steal, and destroy. When we allow offense to take root in our hearts, that's what will happen. Offense will rob you of your blessing. When someone offends you, if you don't allow yourself to deal with the emotion, I can't stress enough on this, and to feel it and then to let it go. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you for joining. Yes, if we don't spit the offense back out right after, then it will rob us of our blessings. Offense can hinder us from walking into purpose. I'm saying something very powerful right here. Offenses can cause us to be blindsided, that we get either distracted or detour from what our true purpose is here on earth. Yes? Offense, it has to take its course. It has to do what it is to do. And that's what offense, as the word says, that offense must come. It will come. But we can't allow it to steal what is ours. Right? And of course, like I made mention, offense can cause us to become bitter if we allow it to take root in our hearts. Right? And when that happens, it can cause us to be enclosed in a shell where we also shut others out whom God has sent to bless us. Because someone may offend us to the point that we think that every other individual that comes in a similar form, they may be pretty much the same like the person who has offended us in a particular way. And remember, I said offenses come in different ways. Offenses may come through our families or friends or co-workers, bosses, so on and so forth, right? So we have to be very mindful. And sometimes too, for me personally, I think sometimes individuals, they're not fully aware sometimes, I think, of what they're even doing or saying. Sometimes I think persons just say things for saying sake, right? And sometimes they're being commissioned to do what they ought to do in order to test other individuals. And that's just what I think, right? And I remember having a conversation recently with myself, another co-worker, and a client. We were having a conversation, and I don't remember how the conversation came up, but we were talking about what the client does. Now, she's in the medical field, and the work that she does is a top ranking job, right? And we were talking, and so myself and my coworker, we were just sharing, how we're gonna be going back to school and that kind of a thing, and we're gonna be studying different things, but just how we're going back to school. And she made a remark and say, school is not everything, somewhere along that line. And she's like, I don't know why people think that they always have to just be going to school. And then eventually she said, nothing is wrong with going back to school, but people need to start getting into the idea of owning their own businesses and stuff like that. Bear in mind, I was saying in my mind, okay, but people can also go back to school to advance themselves, to be able to bring about the life and light of their business in the way in which they want to, right? But outside of that, for me personally, I believe when we go back to school sometimes too, it is connected to our purpose. Now remember earlier I talked about how I'm going to be linking offenses to our purpose, right? And how I did a stream on, purpose, God's work / purpose for about 4 months ago. Now, I've also heard persons in my workspace, talk about, why people that talk about school. I think sometimes too, they're individuals because they have not been given the vision, or the mission was not commissioned for them. They're not able to see as brightly as you are able to see. They're not able to see as clearly as you are able to see, or hear clearly what you're able to hear, because they were not commissioned to do that which the Lord has purposed in your heart to do, the purpose which you were created on this earth to fulfill, right? And with that said, I thought to myself, wow, if we are not convicted in who we are, or who God created us to be as individuals, it can be so easy for other persons' offenses, the things that they say, to cause offense to us, to deter us, and that kind of a thing. So we have to be very convicted and strong in our belief system, in what we believe was placed in us, or what we were created to do or to be. And I was just there sitting and thinking, and I think she may have probably read my facial expression after she made the statement that made her quickly said, nothing is wrong with going back to school. I just think she probably saw my expression, because I was kind of like, okay, And I said to myself, well, God, I'm not going to let that take root into my heart at the moment. Maybe some person may be watching and may be saying, that probably is kind of a little bit simple for me to feel offended about. But sometimes too, there are individuals who are on a higher level. They sometimes think that other individuals should remain down here. You have some individuals like that who believe or see you. They may see you in a particular way where, for example, I work in the beauty field, and I come to realize that there are a lot of clients sometimes, because the area or the atmosphere in which I work, there's a lot of who is who that comes to that place. And sometimes, and of course we know here in our sweet Jamaica, there is classism, as they would call it. We don't really see racism so much, but we still have some prejudices here that happens, or some biases. And I think sometimes, and even some bosses in this field, I think sometimes they see the workers as like this, or see individuals like they are not worth or valued much. You notice I did not say see me like that, because I don't really, I know my worth, I know my value, but it's just upon observation. I'm just sharing this, right? And I thought to myself, okay, sometimes I think they just believe that you should just be doing nails for your entire life. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, or to be doing here, you should be doing that all your entire life. And nothing is wrong with that, because those fields are fields too where God have purposed individuals to live out their purpose in those fields. Because in my field, I believe that there too are a lot of individuals who bring life and light and hope to clients who come through their doors. Because in the field that I work, oftentimes you find clients who sometimes they're stressed, depressed, they're suffering from anxieties and all different kind of things. Sometimes you can feel the energy. Sometimes you can see it all around them. You can tell by their aura. Or sometimes, just by having a conversation and listening to the words which they speak, you may be able to discern, what's happening sometimes with them. And sometimes they may speak openly and say privately that, they're going through something, and, we're there and we talk with them, encourage them, and that kind of a thing. And I'm sure if you work in the cosmetology field, you do hair or you do nails, I'm sure you can understand or maybe relate to what I'm saying, that we too do bring light, life, and hope to individuals. However, on the other side, there are some clienteles who, look down on workers in the field in particular ways, and maybe just think that that's just all that individuals should do. But sometimes it's also a starting point to where God has started off individuals at the small beginnings, because the Word of God says, do not despise small beginnings. Because when we're able to be grateful and stand in the small positions that which God has placed us, and He sees that He can entrust us to bring us in larger territories and borders, then it will be time for us to move to the next level, to the next dimension. And sometimes I think some clients cannot handle that. Needless to say, I think I've stood right there long enough. Needless to say, the offenses, we have to understand that they must come, but we have to understand that they will rob us and steal from us, and they will cause our purpose to die if we are not careful. And I am here to encourage you, to tell you and to remind you that whatever it is that you believe that God has placed in your heart, whatever you believe that you have been called to do, if you think that you are at an age or a stage in your life where you think you're maybe too old, you're maybe thinking there's no need in carrying out this mission, you may have been told that there's absolutely no reason, or it's not necessary for you to walk into that new territory. I'm here to tell you that you need to defy all the odds. You need to shatter all of the negative words that have been spoken. You need to, as I said, you need to walk into the conviction that you have been convicted, that you have been called to do this great thing. Now, I am going to be starting school in another week or so. And I went to a few orientations already this week. And as I sat there on Thursday, I believe Thursday was day 1, yes. And as I sat in the midst of all these students, the majority, maybe 99% of them were young people, of course, freshmen coming out of high school and entering into college. And as I sat there and I looked around, I was like, wow. I was like, God, am I really here? And I was like saying to myself, well, I saw persons who maybe my age group and so on, but I know some of them were parents who were accompanying their children. But for most part, I could not tell who were the adult students, you know? And I was just looking because the vast majority though were young people. And I was just looking around, I was just saying to myself, whoa, I am here. I never even really thought, I don't think I've ever thought of going to college. I may have in my younger days, but I just can't recall it. I know I've always seen myself as a businesswoman. I know I've always seen myself as a leader, as an influencer. I know I've always seen myself as a wife and a certain type of a role model. But I don't think I've ever really thought about the college life, really. Excuse me. But the reality kicked in while I sat there. And I said to myself, God, it is just me. I'm here. It is just me, myself, and I. I know you are with me. But as I sat there, of course, with all the information that was already coming in before orientation day, I felt overwhelmed. I felt a bit anxious, I must be honest with you. I felt a bit nervous. But in the same breath, deep down in the recesses of my heart, I knew I can do this. And right there, after the reality hit that, aura, this is where it starts, this is where it begins, this is now the time for you to surely walk into your purpose. Because what I'm going back to school to do, I'm not just going back to school either for just going back to school's sake either. There has to be a true meaning behind why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, because of what I am commissioned to do, again, we all are called to purpose, but because of what I was commissioned to do, I have to fulfill my purpose. And so in going back to school, this is really what going back to school this time around is about, to fulfill my purpose. Because I am I'm called to a people, I'm called to a nation and assigned to a people. And so I have to fulfill, I have to go all the way. And as I sat there too, and I look around and I saw all the young people around me, I said to myself also that the race is not for the swift, as the words of God says, but it is for those who can endure. And added to that, I was just thinking about, the other individuals who would have gone through, and how I was also thinking, I must be honest, I was also thinking with all these young people around me, I was just wondering, what are they saying in their minds? Maybe some of them may have thought that I am a parent who is is there with my child, as well as maybe some of them may have recognized that I am an adult student. And I was just wondering what is some of their thoughts just the same. Needless to say, I was like, wow, or they may be younger than you are, but it's not to say that this race is not for you. And of course, if we allow ourselves to be caught up with who is younger, who is at this stage or at that level, that too may deter us and cause us to lose out in the race. So the race is never ever for the swift, but it's always for those who can endure. And on day 2, when I went to my second orientation, and as I was entering through the door, and the young people were at the door, and they were handing out some little mini flyers before the actual ceremony started. And one of the young individuals said, you're a parent, right? And I said, no, I'm actually an adult student. And I just smiled to myself. I was like, okay, it's that obvious that I am a parent, but I'm not there accompanying a child. I'm actually there as a student. And it felt a little intimidating, I'm going to be honest with you, because it's a lot of young people all around. But in the same breath, because I believe deep in the recesses of my heart that I am commissioned and I have been called to purpose, and I must fulfill my purpose here on earth, as we all should, because there are so many individuals that are out there who is looking for hope, who is looking for a light to shine through their darkness, who is looking for someone to bring life to their situation. And we all can bring our own individual light to another person, because we all were created uniquely, we all were created differently, we all were created with different abilities, we all were created with different talents and gifts, and we ought to use them to shine light, bring hope and life into the lives of others. Now, what I can do, you may not be able to do, and vice versa. But in the same breath, we should always use the strengths that we have to build up another individuals, and the weakness that we may have. It's not to say that we ought to ignore them. We ought to learn to build upon the weaknesses as well. But for the strengths that we have, we ought to use them to empower individuals, to inspire them, to bring hope and to bring transformation to the lives of others. Because there are lives that are dependent on us. Yes, I said that. And also, some of us too, who may have been raised in a particular way, whom we may not have had certain things taught to us directly or indirectly. So for those of us who have walked into the understanding of how we can bring life and light and hope to individuals, for some of us who may have come to understand how we can be a better model to the younger generation, then I believe that we ought to remember those who are behind. And remember too that there are individuals who are struggling with some of the things that we too, or myself, I know I have struggled with some things in my past life, which I have shared on a lot of things so far, in the previous streams. And I am really here, that's really why I'm here, to share my stories and to help individuals to overcome and to walk too in their value and victory, because there is value upon each and every individual here on this earth. But one, we have to become one with whom God has created us to be, with our unique self that He has designed us. Two, we have to surround ourselves with people who can identify the qualities and the worth that is upon our lives. Three, it is also imperative for us to push ourselves. It is important for us to do what is necessary to build up ourselves and to develop ourselves and to cause ourselves to walk into the best version of who God has created us to be. But also, it is imperative to lay aside the weight that so easily besets you. Now, I hope that today's message was something that has inspired you, encouraged you, and it has informed you a bit. And I also hope that you will feel the emotions of what you're feeling. Feel the fear, feel the offenses, feel the anxiousness, feel the overwhelming feeling, feel all the joys, the laughter, the pain, the hurt, the sadness, whatever feeling, whatever emotion comes. Feel them. God has given them to us for a purpose and for a reason. It's not for us to ignore them and to bury them, because sometimes when we bury these feelings, these emotions, they can create some friction sometimes within our souls. So may I suggest that you feel the feelings, feel the emotions, deal with them. If you're not able to handle them all by yourself, I implore you to find someone who is at a better level emotionally, someone who is stronger, more emotional, someone who is stronger emotionally, someone who is also more mature spiritually, someone who can guide you, someone who can pray with you and help you to understand how to navigate through and with the feelings that you're feeling, and so that you may be able to deal with them and to just embrace the greatest version of yourself and walk into your purpose. God is calling you to walk into your purpose like He's calling me to walk in my purpose. So walk in light, walk in love, walk in hope, and let your light so shine among men. But also remember, do not let your light be hidden, because a light that is hidden, it cannot bring life to anyone. So live, love, and enjoy the rest of this fabulous weekend, and I hope that you'll have an empowered week and a very productive week ahead. Like, I will be having another busy week coming, so I hope that that's what it will be for you too. Many blessings and grace be unto you. Shalom. Bye bye.